So let's go first to Ukraine because, that's all that's happening in the news. Give us your take on the Ukraine and the various relationships.
I think the first thing I'd say is not to take too much notice of what most of the mainstream media has got to say about Ukraine, because most of them, and I'm thinking really more here about what I used to watch in the UK, particularly the BBC, most of them are really just regurgitating the Ukrainian general staff's perspective on what's happening. They're not taking account of other perspectives, such as what the Russians are saying they're doing. And very often that does lead to a distorted picture. But I think in reality, the Russians are doing their best now, as we speak, to take the whole of the Donbass region in eastern Crimea, eastern Ukraine. And they're being quite successful at that. I think they're hammering the hell, unfortunately, out of the Ukrainians with artillery and then going in to mop them up. It's a slow, long process. But I think eventually, unfortunately, they will probably prevail in eastern Ukraine. They will also, I've no doubt, consolidate their gains that they've made, very effective gains in southern Ukraine, taking most of the southern coastline of Ukraine. And then at that point, I think once they're happy, they will, once Putin's happy with what he's got, he will ask for peace. And I'm sure that people like President Macron, Chancellor Scholz, will push Ukraine into accepting whatever the Russians are asking for.
James.
But there do seem to be an awful lot of people who want to be using this conflict in Ukraine as, it looks to me, to create a real conflict directly between the U.S. and Moscow. And you see this being pushed in a lot of the media that's, constantly pushing all of these different stories about the Admiral Makarov ship this week and, the Ghost of Kiev last week. What do you make of that? And I know Macron wants to find an off-ramp, but are you concerned that there are other players in this that want to actually escalate this rather than come to some sort of conclusion that's not great, but is better than, the alternative?
I don't think the Americans, if you're talking about the Americans, have a desire to escalate this conflict. I think what they have a desire to do is to support Ukraine, to prevent Putin from dominating the whole of Ukraine or even any part of Ukraine. But not only for that reason, also because if Putin is successful in Ukraine in any way, then that makes him even more dangerous as long as he stays in the Kremlin and threatens other Eastern European countries, including other NATO countries. So I think it's quite important that happens. I don't agree with people like President Macron, who says, let's give Putin a face-saving way out of this and give him a chunk of Ukraine. Well, would he give him a chunk of France if it was that? No, it's happened in the past.
Well,
exactly.